3 weeks ago, a five-star resort on Palm Jumeirah had a waiting list. Rooms at over $600 a night, completely sold out. Not a single vacancy. Today, that same hotel is offering package deals for under $100, and guests are getting their money back in food and beverage credits, so the stay is essentially free. This isn't a sale. This isn't a promotion. This is a market in free fall. Welcome back. Today we're breaking down what just happened to Dubai, one of the most carefully constructed tourism economies on the planet, and why it matters far beyond the Middle East. To understand how fast this happened, you first need to understand what Dubai looked like heading into 2026. The city was on a roll. In 2025, Dubai welcomed 19.5 million visitors. That's not a typo. 19.5 million people passed through, stayed in hotels, shopped in malls, ate at rooftop restaurants, and spent real money. The kind of city that makes you feel like the global economy is doing just fine, whatever the headlines say. The plan for 2026 was simple. Do it again, but bigger. Break the record. Aim for 20 million plus. And all the early indicators pointed in that direction. November through April, Dubai's peak season, was performing exactly as expected. Hotels full, flights full. The tourism machine operating at maximum capacity. And look, this wasn't an accident. Dubai spent decades engineering this. It built the tallest building on Earth, the most photographed hotel, the most audacious artificial islands. It positioned itself as the place where spectacle meets comfort, where you can eat at a Michelin-starred restaurant in the morning and skydive over the desert in the afternoon. The product was genuinely compelling, and the world was buying it. So heading into the final stretch of peak season, February-March, everything looked like business as usual. Then came February 28th. February 28th, 2026 is a date Dubai's tourism industry will not forget quickly. On that day, following a period of escalating regional tensions, a wave of Iranian retaliatory strikes targeted parts of the United Arab Emirates. The scale of what was launched was significant. Reports described 189 ballistic missiles, over 900 drones, and multiple cruise missiles fired in the attack. Now, the UAE's defense systems intercepted the vast majority of these. The physical damage, in terms of infrastructure, was relatively contained. That part is important context. But that's not what mattered in the hours and days that followed. What mattered was what the world saw. Smoke rising over Palm Jumeirah. Explosions visible in the sky near the Burj Al Arab, one of the most recognizable buildings on the planet. Footage circulating on social media within minutes, shared by millions of people who had no way to immediately assess what was happening or how serious it was. And then, Dubai International Airport shut down. Terminal 3, one of the busiest aviation hubs in the world, handling over 95 million passengers in 2025 alone. Closed, airspace restricted, flights grounded. Think about what that means for a city like Dubai. This is not a destination that operates like a traditional tourist spot. It's a transit hub, a connection point. The entire economy, hotels, airlines, retail, hospitality, runs on the constant flow of people moving in and out. When that stops, everything stops. The numbers that came out in the following days were striking. Within 7 days of the attack, hotel occupancy rates dropped between 35% and 60%, according to early industry analyst data. In ultra-luxury zones, downtown Dubai, Palm Jumeirah, internal reports suggested occupancy fell below 20%. Some projections warned of single-digit occupancy if conditions continued. Let that sink in. Single-digit hotel occupancy. In peak season. In one of the most expensive hotel markets in the world. More than 700 flights operated by Emirates and Etihad were canceled within 2 weeks. Around 20,000 passengers were stranded, unable to leave, unable to arrive. The MSC cruise ship carrying over 6,300 passengers was stuck at the dock because there were no outbound flights to connect to. The cruise just sat there. The prices in the hotel market tell you everything you need to know about what was happening. Properties like the Andaz Palm Jumeirah, a luxury brand, not a budget option, were listing one-bedroom suites for $123 a night. Apartments with direct Burj Khalifa views, which had been $272 per night, were dropping to $191, then lower. The resort we mentioned at the top? Package deals for under $100. All-inclusive credits effectively making the stay free. These are not discounts. These are hotels desperately trying to generate any cash flow at all. If the attack had happened in July, the damage, economically, would have been significant, but manageable. July is the off-season. Temperatures routinely hit 45 degrees Celsius. Outdoor tourism is basically impossible. The hotels are already running at reduced capacity, already offering lower rates, already operating in survival mode until the season turns. A shock in July hurts, but the market is already braced for a slow period. But that's not when this happened. This happened in late February, heading into March. That is the absolute heart of peak season. The final stretch. The home straight. The weeks that hotels, airlines, restaurants, and retail operators have been building towards since November. This is when the margins get made. This is when the year either works financially or it doesn't. And it gets worse when you look at what was sitting right behind this disruption on the calendar. Eid al-Fitr fell around March 19th and 20th in 2026. For anyone unfamiliar, this is one of the most significant travel periods in the entire Gulf region. It's not a niche holiday, it's a mass movement. Every year, tens of thousands of families from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and across the wider region make the trip to Dubai for the celebration. It's predictable, it's reliable, and it brings high-spending travelers who stay for several nights, eat out every evening, shop heavily, and fill the kind of premium hotel inventory that Dubai has an abundance of. This is the kind of demand that hotel revenue managers literally plan their entire year around. You know it's coming. You hold rates high. You watch the occupancy build. You don't discount because you don't need to. This year, that demand just evaporated. Cancellation rates for the Eid period surged between 70% and 75% within days of the attack. Not a gradual softening, not a slight dip in bookings, a near-total collapse of what should have been one of the most lucrative weeks of the year. Think about what that means operationally. A hotel that had confirmed bookings, confirmed revenue, pre-ordered food and beverage stock, fully staffed rosters, suddenly sitting at 25% of expected occupancy. That's not a revenue shortfall. That's a structural cash flow crisis. Now zoom out and think about the full seasonal picture. Dubai's tourism model is built entirely around a 6 to 7 month window, November through April. That's it. That's the playbook. Get as many visitors as possible during those months, charge premium rates, generate the revenue you need to carry the business through the summer. Because summer in Dubai, and this is not a minor caveat, summer is brutal. Temperatures above 40 degrees for months, humidity that makes outdoor activity genuinely dangerous. The city doesn't stop existing in summer, but mass leisure tourism essentially does. So when we're talking about the peak season window, we're not talking about a preference. We're talking about an economic necessity. If November to April doesn't deliver, there is no mechanism to make it up. You can't run a summer comeback campaign when your summer product is an outdoor experience in 45-degree heat. The February attack and the Eid collapse didn't just hit revenue. They hit the only window where that revenue can be generated. And specifically, they hit the final and typically most profitable stretch of that window, the part where properties usually see their best occupancy and their strongest nightly rates. What the industry lost in those weeks isn't just those weeks. It's also the margin buffer that funds operations for the months ahead. Hotels that were counting on a strong March to carry them through May and June are now heading into those quieter months undercapitalized, with weaker cash reserves, and in some cases already running promotions that will compress future margins further. Let's put some numbers around this, because the scale matters. Tourism contributes roughly 12% of UAE GDP. This isn't a secondary sector. For Dubai specifically, it's load-bearing. It funds a lot of what makes the city operate at the level it does. At the peak of the disruption, analysts were estimating daily economic losses in Dubai of up to $500 million. Not annually, not quarterly, per day. That number reflects the full ecosystem, Airlines, hotels, retail, dining, entertainment, and all the knock-on effects across the supply chain. Zooming out to the broader region, projections suggested a potential loss of 23 to 38 million tourists across the Middle East in 2026, with a financial impact ranging from $34 billion to $56 billion. That's not Dubai alone, but Dubai sits at the center of it. And the ripple effects aren't confined to the big hotel brands. The Marriotts and Four Seasons have the balance sheets to absorb a short-term shock. But Dubai's tourism economy runs on thousands of smaller operators: tour guides, independent restaurants, private drivers, boutique retailers, businesses that were built on the assumption that peak season delivers, because it always did. When it doesn't, there's no cushion. Dubai was already, quietly, dealing with a supply problem. Going into 2026, the city had over 818 hotels and more than 152,000 hotel rooms. About 67% of those were classified as luxury or upper upscale. And the pipeline? Another 12,000 rooms were set to come online by 2030. This is a lot of rooms. More rooms than demand was cleanly supporting. We've seen this dynamic play out before. Between 2015 and 2019, Dubai went on a construction spree and added around 20,000 hotel rooms. The result? Average nightly rates fell 27%, from $188 per night down to $137. Hotels entered a price war, cutting rates just to keep beds filled. Margins got squeezed. The market essentially outbuilt itself. Now layer the demand shock from the February attack on top of an already oversupplied market. What would normally play out over a few years in terms of price pressure is now happening in weeks. That's why you're seeing such dramatic discounting. It's not just crisis response. It's a market that was already under pressure, now getting hit from both sides simultaneously. To understand why the psychological impact here is so significant, you need to understand what Dubai actually sells. Paris sells history. The Maldives sells nature. Bali sells spirituality and culture. Dubai sells something different. Dubai sells certainty. It sells the idea that this is the safest, most controlled, most perfectly managed environment you can visit. It sells the promise that nothing will go wrong. That's what justified the $600 hotel nights. That's what convinced high-net-worth travelers to park themselves here for a week and spend freely. That's what made it a safe haven in a region that, let's be honest, has plenty of instability nearby. For decades, that promise worked. The bubble held. Dubai managed to exist as this exception, a luxury island of calm in a geopolitically complex neighborhood. But the moment that perception cracks, even slightly, the entire business model is under threat. Because when your core product is certainty, you cannot afford uncertainty. And here's the uncomfortable reality. It doesn't even matter that over 90% of the attacks were intercepted. It doesn't matter that infrastructure damage was limited. What matters is that the world saw smoke over Palm Jumeirah. What matters is that Dubai International Airport shut down. What matters is that one person sitting in London or Tokyo or Frankfurt saw those images and said, maybe not this year. A single viral video of explosions visible from a hotel window can undo years of marketing investment. A single review that says, "I didn't feel safe," can influence thousands of future booking decisions. Perception in tourism doesn't follow the facts, it follows the feeling. And once the feeling changes, recovery is slow. While all this was unfolding in Dubai, the rest of the world was still open for business. Turkey, Greece, Egypt, Japan, Southeast Asia, all of them fully operational, all of them actively marketing to the same demographic that Dubai was supposed to be capturing in March and April 2026. Tourists who canceled Dubai didn't stop traveling. They rerouted. They picked somewhere else, somewhere that felt like less of a question mark. And here's the risk that doesn't show up in the short-term data. Once people discover a new destination, they often come back to it. The traveler who rebooked to Istanbul for spring 2026 and had a great trip might just go back to Istanbul in 2027. The person who discovered that Greece in spring is genuinely beautiful might make it an annual thing. Dubai doesn't just risk losing this season. It risks losing future loyalists it was supposed to acquire. Recovery is possible. Dubai has resources, government backing, and real experience bouncing back. But rebuilding infrastructure takes weeks. Rebuilding trust takes years. And that's the real challenge here. Not construction, not investment, but perception. The physical city is still standing. The Burj is still there. The hotels are still open. But the version of Dubai that lived in people's minds, the guaranteed safe, nothing can go wrong destination, that took real damage. How long that lasts depends on what happens next, geopolitically and strategically. So I want to ask you directly, if you had a trip to Dubai planned right now, would you still go? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more breakdowns like this, fact-driven, no fluff, make sure you're subscribed. We've got a lot more coming.